Hello, 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 hello. Good afternoon. Last day of the month of May in 2019, May the 30th. I'm a follower of the spirit of Christ, or Yeshua, I should say. That has not gone away. However, some things have been shifted in my life, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So I'm still on a natural high as far as my trip down to New Orleans. Yeah, that's gonna go down in history. I did mention in my last video, I wish I would have had more time with regards to spirituality down in New Orleans. I wouldn't necessarily say that I would, just jump in feet first, and don't know who I'm dealing with, what I'm dealing with. No, because I've read up on different belief systems and I have an idea. Peace, love, legacy 500. Thanks for tuning in. And looks like you're the first one to comment, so thank you. Like I was saying, when I went down to the dirty South, New Orleans, like when the time was coming to a close with my stay there in New Orleans for this year, I sat back and I thought, man, I wish I could have done more on a spiritual level versus, the other touristy stuff that I partook in with my sisters. And one sister, went down to South Carolina to get some assistance spiritually, if you know what I mean, because apparently a relative of ours has been dibbling and dabbling in destructive spiritual practices. I'll just put it that way. And I've known this for a while, and my older sister knew this for a while. Actually, my older sister was told this by a church-going holy roller woman, but I think her spirit was just, not in a good place. Like when you tell somebody something like that, you have to be gentle. You don't just like put that information out there and leave the person with feeling like hopeless, So I told my sister a few years back, I was like, I didn't appreciate the way that lady disclosed a relative that did that, and that still doing it. I mean, I have to laugh because if not, I would be stressed out. But so my youngest sister, before we went down to New Orleans, she didn't want to wait till we went to New Orleans. She wanted to go down to South Carolina, connect with a spiritual worker to remove what she was told was a curse. And I told her, my youngest sister, I said, the power is within. Whoever did X, Y, and Z has no power over you unless you believe that they have power over you, unless you believe that whatever they were doing in the kitchen or in the garden or whatever, or with your pictures, is going to cause destruction. But she went down there anyway. I don't even know how much money she spent to apparently remove this curse. And I'm not saying that this individual, this relative, didn't do it, because she is not stable. And she walked out on the Christian faith a few years ago. And she went all in on the destructive side for the most part. And the reason why we know this, no one else had to tell us this, is because my younger sister, she gave a relative access to her internet or something like that. And when my sister left, she was able to see the search engine. All right. So she saw what this individual was searching for. And this individual was searching for putting hexes on people, cursing people, how to get loved ones to want to be around her. So she was trying to do work, like, like I said, she's unstable. So one minute she want to love you, next minute she wants you to die. So there was some searches where she wanted everybody to come together, and she was trying to figure out a way so we all can be kumbaya again. And then the next minute, she trying to create destruction. So I say all of this because my older sister and I had an idea what was going on. The younger sister showed my older sister what she found on her Google search, and she panicked. She panicked. Then she went, like I said, recently before she went to South Carolina, she got a reading. And whoever this person was, I believe it was somewhere in North Carolina, told her, oh yeah, your whatever relative put something on you and your sisters. Or at least she attempted to put something on me. She attempted, but it didn't work. But with them other two sisters, yeah, they were nervous about it. But anyway, so that's when my younger sister, she went down to South Carolina, which I think was on the border of North Carolina where she went. So it wasn't a very long trip for her because she lives in North Carolina. But I just say all of this because from what I'm learning when it comes to spiritual workers, whatever name you want to put them under, or whatever identity you want to put them under, or category, whatever like that, not every spiritual worker is there for your best interests. And if we begin and continue the process of knowing thyself, then the answers are within us. However, you do have people that do require assistance because they just don't know, or they're so blinded with fear and reoccurring drama that they just feel like they don't have any power. They're powerless. So they run out and connect with this person to try to get answers. That person won't tell them what they want to hear. So they run over here to another person to get some answers. That person don't tell them what they want to hear. So anyway, I think my little sister's kind of one of those people where she feels like she has to bounce around to different readers to get an answer. And then I guess this one reader told her, yeah, so-and-so put something on you a long time ago, and that's why your life is X, Y, and Z, right? So she panics, and she goes down to South Carolina to get something done. I don't know what it was. I don't need to know the details. And she did all that before the trip to New Orleans. So anyway, so the individual that apparently did all of this stuff for whatever reason to me and my sisters, she found out we were going to New Orleans. And my little sister got in trouble a while back, and that's done over with. But that relative didn't know. So the relative was like, they're going to lock you up at the airport if you go to New Orleans. If you go to the airport, they're going to lock you up. Again, she didn't know that that situation was cleared up. There were no pending charges or nothing. Which I think she probably has something to do with that. If she has something to do with that, she didn't know the outcome of what was going on legally with my sister, my little sister. So anyway, my little sister, for whatever reason, was going to use that relative to look after children. So once again, she's involving this individual in her life when I believe she shouldn't. That individual should not know when she gonna squat and pee, when she gonna sneeze, when she gonna brush her teeth. She don't need to know all that, because that's a tracking system for her to see if whatever she's doing is actually working. But whatever. So a day before the sister was supposed to fly out to New Orleans, that relative didn't call her back, didn't return her phone calls or whatever. So I guess she thought, oh, well, she's not going to go on this trip because I'm not going to take care of her kids. Well, that sister had a backup plan. So my niece and nephew had someone to take care of them. So that didn't work out for this relative, right? And then, again, the next thing was, oh, well, she's going to get locked up if she go to the airport to go to New Orleans. Well, that didn't work out. And that didn't work out because I don't know, whatever my sister ended up doing in South Carolina might have like broken the chains, whatever. But she was able to get through the airport, and it was a challenge. And I've said this in the last video. It was a challenge to get that girl on that plane. And whatever that relative was trying to do, it didn't work. So maybe, just maybe, with my sister going down to South Carolina, maybe that helped her have a safe trip down to New Orleans and back. I don't know. But anyway, the point of this video, again, is my spiritual walk. I believe in Yeshua. I believe in the Christ consciousness. That's something slightly different than what I was believing most of my life. I mean, I believe in Yeshua. I believe Yeshua is a master. I believe Yeshua was an amazing teacher, an individual you definitely want to follow. At the same time, I believe that Christ consciousness is all over the world. I believe that Christ consciousness dwells in other humans in different time periods that teach us, depending on where we live, our customs, and all of that, our geographic area, teach us the way, or teach us how to find our higher self. And I know that can be kind of confusing for some people, and I am delving in this. I also believe in crystals, the power of crystals, the power of oils, like essential oils, herbs from the earth. I believe in law of attraction. I believe in I believe that everyone has some sort of spiritual gift. It's how you use it. That's what matters, really. It's what channel are you tuned in to utilize your spiritual gift. And this is a very tricky a very tricky platform. And when someone's desperate, for instance, that one sister, there are a lot of spiritual workers out there who feed off of fear. They feed off of fear. They're probably they probably noticed you didn't do your research, you didn't do your homework. And so you do have those spiritual workers who will take advantage of people like that. You got to be already prayed up. Oh, meditation. I believe in meditation. You have to be solid spiritually. Ask for discernment. Ask for wisdom. Don't just run up in some whatever shop and ask for a reading and you scared and everything that come out that mouth, you believe it. Good, bad, or in between. Because what you're doing is you're manifesting whatever that energy is. So if you're afraid of something and then that spiritual worker tells you what you're afraid of and then you feed into it or whatever like that, then you are manifesting what you fear. And again, not everyone has done research, especially if they come from a background that has taught you from day one. All of this other stuff is junk, right? And this over here, what you've been brought up to believe, is what you need to focus on. And so, as far as written word, the Bible, as we call it, as Christian people or the Christian community, there is so much information that at least is still in the Bible, because I do believe a lot of solid, relevant, guided words have been taken out. Things that would empower us has been removed. And so we have to seek after it, right? We have to seek it. And then we will find it, right? So I've learned that you can read a scripture all day, but if you don't understand coding and symbolism and all of that, the message is interpreted in a way that is not going to benefit you. Let's just put it that way. So I'm learning right now on my own about symbolism and what this means and what that means. And then I did listen to an audio book of the book of Eli. And again, if you don't understand codes, if you don't understand how to decode books like that, you get lost in fear and, you're like, okay, well, I'm just doomed then. I'm just doomed because everything I'm reading up here, like it's like the book of Eli is similar, in my opinion, is similar to the book of Revelation, which I've read the book of Revelation like 5 or 6 times. And long story short, I have yet to read the Bible decoded yet. As of yet, I have yet to read the Bible decoded. That's another spiritual goal that I'm going to set for myself. Not just the Bible, but just read spiritual books, and be able to decode them. Now, I know that's a challenge, right? I do. I know that's a challenge. I know that. And I mean, my thing is, at my age now, I feel like I have to catch up. And anybody that's studied and, you go through the man-made schools, you get your high school diploma, your college degree, and if you go in further, you get your master's degree, you get your PhD or whatever. You get all these degrees, but it's man-made education. And in some cases, the man-made education does not provide you with what you thought that you were going to receive because you got that piece of paper or whatever. And then you sit back, like myself, you sit back and be like, okay, there has to be more. There has to be more. And as an adult now, I'm learning not only my culture, ethnicity, genealogy, and all that stuff. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that's my thing too, like genealogy, race, culture. That's just me. That's my passion. But also spirituality. And now at this point in my life, after I've gone to so many Bible studies and church services and small groups and volunteering my time and giving my money and all of this for that Christian walk. And now I feel as if I have to almost start over. But I look at my Christian background as a platform, a foundation to continue to grow spiritually. That's how I look at it. I initially kind of feel frustrated because you're like, oh, now I gotta learn, whatever, or I have to like go back, but it's my foundation. And with my foundation, I will piggyback on what I was taught, which is very elementary. Very elementary. Very. And so as I grow spiritually, I'm going to make sure that I explore other belief systems. That doesn't necessarily align with what I was taught in Bible school when I was 5 or 6 years old. Because you can only handle but so much. You can only consume but so much on a certain level, right? But when you allow your spirit and your mind to look over here, look over there, read this, read that. If your spirit or that vibe just, don't mesh well, leave it be. At least you're learning what someone else believes. At least you can have an idea where they're coming from when they make decisions in their life. But that's their path. Their path. And I think many of us, we fall into a trap as far as judging people, unknowingly or knowingly, because we're so consumed with what somebody else is doing. When we step back and focus on finding ourselves and knowing ourselves, then we have no time, no room for judging somebody else's walk. They have a purpose in this particular life, and that's the walk that they're going to walk. I have my purpose in this life, and I have my blueprint, my spiritual blueprint. That's how I look at it. So my spiritual blueprint thus far acknowledges the power of crystals. They are gifts from the highest divinity, from Creator. There's a reason why the Creator created crystals. There's a reason why the Creator created different types of plants. There's a reason. And it may not necessarily be this person's walk or that person's walk, but guess what? It resonates with me. It resonates with my spiritual walk, where I am finding myself, I'm knowing myself. And if I would have stayed in that box, then I would not know myself. I will be living through someone else's spiritual blueprint that worked for them. It's almost like someone buys a product and they give a great review on YouTube, right? Let's say it's a hair product, because I'm one of those people that I would definitely try different hair products based on a YouTuber that I like, a YouTuber that I respect, a YouTuber that possibly has the same hair texture as my hair texture. So if she or he, but most times it's she, if she uses a product and says how great it is and shows the results of that product, I'm jumping in. I'm like, okay, where can I find this? Okay, show us the steps, X, Y, and Z. I need to get it. I gotta have it. Because if her hair came out looking that great, then that means my hair would come out looking that great. Anybody out there that does what I just described, know that just because their hair product worked on that person's hair, it is not a guarantee that you're going to have the same results. Maybe similar, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have the same results. So I say all of that because that blueprint thousands of years ago, people followed. People followed Yeshua's blueprint. Yeshua did his work. Yeshua walked his walk. Yeshua shared what he was privileged to share with the rest of those people in that community. I respect Yeshua. Not many people respect Yeshua today because you have so-called Christians treating people horrible. Horrible. In the name of God. And so Yeshua had his blueprint, but those who followed behind Yeshua, unfortunately, didn't walk the same way that Yeshua walked. They believed in Yeshua as God. I believe Yeshua is God, but I also believe that God is within all of us. And I believe that each person, each human, is a part of the highest divinity, of the great I am, or however way you want to describe that power, right? And so now in my life, in order for me to grow spiritually, I must also learn about other belief systems. And again, if it doesn't apply, set it aside. If it don't feel right to me, that's not my walk. That's not for me. And it's okay. It's okay. I was thinking about Moses when he kept telling Pharaoh, let his people go. And all these magical, phenomenal events happen. And some of the and there were similar events that happened on the Pharaoh side as well, because he had I guess sorcerers or whatever that were, or magicians that were able to show Moses and his people whatever that, hey, we can turn a stick into a snake as well. We can turn a snake into a stick as well. We can do this as well. We can do that as well. But Moses, according to the character in the Bible, Moses was able to, through God of Israel, creator, and a laundry list of other names, according to the Bible, Moses was able to use that spiritual gift, all he had to do was open his mouth and the words just flowed. All he had to do was follow instructions that was given to him by a high divinity. Drop the stick down, and that spirit took over, and the stick turned into a snake. I say all of this is because you have the Pharaoh and his sorcerers, and you have Moses and the spirit of God with him. And both groups had some kind of spiritual power. But of course, good prevailed. And, if you know the story of Moses and the Israelites and all that, you know what happened after that. So let me read these comments. Love Legacy 500. You said a lot of the Bible has been changed in the last 30 years alone. I can agree with that. There's so many interpretations out there, so many versions of the Bible. And I remember when I dove in studying and trying to, in my opinion, master what I was learning, I felt discouraged because I'm like, which version do I select? And where are these books that they reference at the bottom of some of these Bibles, like, refer to this book or that book? It's like, where are these books? Why were they removed from the Bible? Why were they removed? And so that in of itself just frustrated me. It was like I felt like what I needed was not going to be in a book in black and white. Whatever that was not in that book, or whatever that was in that book that was altered, I would have to go within and seek truth from the God within. And I just had, I think I came to the realization of that probably 5 or 6 years ago. I just got to the point, I said, I was so frustrated. I said, you know what? I think what started that, after I was frustrated, I'm like, well, why should I even pray then? Like, I just got so frustrated because I'm asking leaders in the church I attended, or people that's been in the church for a lot longer than me or older than me. I'm looking for them for wisdom. I'm looking for them for answers. And the questions that I'm asking offended some people because they were taught not to question. And also they probably thought I was being smart or something. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to put you on blast or, try to make you look bad in front of people. But if you did all the studying, you went to school and you're a pastor or assistant pastor or what have you, then I expect for you to be able to break it all the way down for me so I can understand. And so there's so many interpretations out there. And then what's the default? King James Version. King James Version. That's the default version. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but I'm still missing pieces of this puzzle. I'm still missing pieces of my spiritual growth. I'm still missing pieces of my spiritual blueprint. So those pieces that are missing, I have learned that I have to go within to get the answers. And I also need to grow outside of that book. And I just believe that everyone's not going to have that book. Everyone's not going to read that book, but God still speaks. I believe and I say God, I mean God, highest divinity, however way you want to put it, the highest power out there. I just believe you, and when I say you, I mean like just society, humans in general. We are unable to box that infinite power. We're unable to box it up and put a bow on it and hand it to people. Some things you just have to experience on a personal level. Some things you just have to go through on a personal level. I'm thinking of Yeshua right now. There's parts of his life that's not documented. I wonder why. Why is that big chunk of time not documented? One part of his life was documented towards the end of his human life here on earth as Yeshua. He went out into the wilderness and he fasted. He went through that experience. And of course, when people fast, whatever, they share what if they choose to, they'll share, what messages they may have received from a spiritual realm and other things of that nature. I don't remember reading anything in the Bible about every little thing that he experienced. Now, they did highlight when Lucifer, or whatever you want to call this character that was opposed to Yeshua, tried to tempt him. And it didn't work. But I say all of this because there's big chunks of Yeshua's life that's just not documented. And from what I've been learning, he actually traveled. He went to the east and all these other places. So why was that not documented? Why can't we read about Yeshua going to the east and all of that? Why? Again, that's a big chunk of information that I think would have been very empowering for the rest of us. And so, again, I am in a place right now where I just, for the sake of this conversation, I've learned to go within, meditate, and ask questions. And throughout my meditation, or sometimes within my dreams, I receive the answers. Some things you have to meditate on. And some things are just not in black and white. It's not in a piece of paper. It's so much history out there that's just not documented. That oral history through the mouth, words, not written down, not carved in the stone. It was passed down generation to generation until, obviously there was a disconnect from that. And now many people are learning to go back to their ancient roots to understand who they are. And a lot of that is going to have to be spiritual. It's just going to have to be. A lot of that's just going to have to be spiritual when we actually are learning who we are. And I'm not just saying ethnicity. I mean, yes, I definitely am very much passionate about that, but also the spiritual walk of mine, I'm very passionate about. Now, and I'm going to say this, disclaimer, whatever, I am not a perfect person. I strive to be perfect, but I'm not. I stumble, I fall, but I always get back up. And I believe that's part of the lesson, at least in life, is You fall, you get back up. You fall, you get back up again. Life is full of lessons and blessings. Lessons and blessings. And that's how you got to look at it. That's just the way this life is. I also believe in karma. I believe whatever you put out there, you're going to receive. You put love and all that out there, you're going to receive it back. If you put hate, you're going to receive it back. So you're wondering why everybody attacking me? I ain't did nothing wrong. Okay. Karma. Maybe you don't remember what you did some other time in some other life, but you have to go through it. And I do believe in karma. I do believe in karma. As far as past lives, I didn't always believe in past lives. I just thought, okay, once you die, you either go to heaven or hell, and that's it. There ain't no repeats, you know. But now in this life, I do believe that people have past lives. And I also believe whenever we encounter a magnificent person, a genius, just someone who's just above average, just excellent, I believe they were here once upon a time, and maybe a few times. And in this life, they finally got it right. Finally. But I do believe, in past lives. And it's sad to say, but in a past life, if you were a jerk, and in this life, you're humble and you don't understand why, you never could have nothing, but you still going to give your last dollar to, whoever's in need, then maybe this is part of your karma. Maybe this is part of your karma, because in a past life, you were a dictator or something. I don't know. So I'm still growing when it comes to the past life thing. I'm still, trying to be, I wouldn't necessarily say be an expert when it comes to that, but I'm learning more about the past life thing, because to me, it just makes sense. It really does. For someone to be considered a master or a saint or something like that, I just believe that they probably were here several times and they finally got it right. And then they're put on a pedestal and we remember them for generations, because whatever lives they had before, they finally got it right in this lifetime. And so we honor them, right? So that's kind of where I am right now as far as the past life thing. Like, again, I'm still learning about the past life thing. I mentioned in one of my old videos a couple of weeks ago that I did get a reading, and it was one of those readings that I didn't walk into desperate. I wasn't initially going to do it, but I felt the vibe of this card reader, and she just wanted to give information. And my friend and I decided, okay, well, fine. It's only going to cost me, $10 or whatever. So it wasn't like a $500 consultation or nothing like that. But it was a quick kind of reading, pick a card or whatever. And she had 4 or 5 decks, and you just pick a card from every deck. So, and I knew she was gifted. I just knew that. So I didn't feel like this lady was, Cleo or whatever. So anyway, so she read the cards of my friend first, and she was pretty much on point. But it wasn't nothing like, wow, because no. Then she gets to me, and fast forward to the past life thing. She said, you were a high priestess. Maybe not maybe not a female, but more so a male high priestess. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. Like, I think a lot of the cards that she pulled were like powerful position cards. And one of the cards was intuition. She was like, you're gifted with intuition. You need to use it. And I was trying to explain to her, like, I don't want to judge people. Da, da, da. But all my life, I could read people, okay? And then I'm thinking, oh, I'm being judgmental. I shouldn't judge people. I don't know them like that. Intuition and discernment. And so now everyone has that. And me thinking, oh, I don't want to, prejudge somebody. Well, I have intuition. She said, you need to trust your intuition more. Your intuition is on point, pretty much. So, but again, I didn't go into that reading desperate or scared or whatever like that. And then once we ended the session, I said, thank you for sharing your gift. And she had that look like, wow, thank you. So anyway, yeah. Let's see. Love Legacy 500 says they want us to look outside and not within. Yes. Yes. We are taught to look over here for guidance. Whatever's going on in here that's telling us X, Y, and Z, we don't trust it because some ordained minister didn't tell us. Or whatever that minister said didn't feel right. Like, this one ministry I attended, and was the last ministry that I was a member of. This was back in maybe 2012, maybe 2013. I can't remember. I don't even want to go back to how I felt when I was about to leave that church. But right before I got ready to leave that church, when I pretty much prayed about it. You know how they say always pray about something before you make a major decision, right? So I prayed about it. And the last straw that broke the camel's back was when I and a really good lifetime friend was sitting in church. And this whole year they were celebrating something. Always celebrating something. And I was like, why are we doing all this celebrating? Are we actually celebrating who we supposed to be worshiping? Or are we celebrating this minister or that pastor's wife or whatever like that? Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. We should respect our leaders. We should honor them. And that's great and everything like that. But it was like every other week we were celebrating something. And it seemed like we were getting further and further away from the messages of scripture. Then this, like I said, this last hoorah, as some people call it, this last sermon I sat through, they put up a blueprint of how they wanted the church lobby to be. And they were asking for money, in so many words, to renovate the lobby. And they were also saying they were going to put in a coffee shop and all this stuff. And I was like, really? So you want my money to go towards a coffee shop? And when I first came to this particular ministry, you guys were all about ministry overseas and missionaries and all of this. And, you know, looking after those people, making sure we help them financially so they can go spread the word, right? Not so much about giving to the poor, which kind of rubbed me the wrong way, right? Because church is supposed to be in place to help people, orphans and widows, elderly people, the sick, you know, the list of people and communities we supposed to be helping, right? When they start talking about and start like really hyping it up about, you know, renovating and I was like, nope, because there was nothing wrong with the church. Nothing. This church was in one of the richest counties in this nation. Many wealthy people went to that church. There were NFL football players still playing, by the way, not retired, going to that church. And you want to renovate the lobby to add a lounge and a coffee shop and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, first of all, y'all got on my nerves about the whole tithing thing. When y'all weren't getting as much money out of me as you used to, because guess what? I had got laid off. Now, all of a sudden, oh, the recession's over now, and we noticed that you didn't give whatever, blah, 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 that BS letter. But what broke the camel's back was that particular sermon. And they literally had the blueprint of what they want or whatever on a projector screen. And people just celebrating and tamarines and stuff. Oh, Lord, gonna bless us with this. Praise the Lord. I'm like, this ain't got nothing to do with helping people, reaching people, but whatever. I say all of this because when you're going to a leader in a spiritual atmosphere like that, and I'm using that as an example because that's where I come from, you know, that's my background. I don't want to focus on a lobby and a coffee shop and all that. I wanted to focus on growing spiritually. And I'm asking questions and I'm either getting a short answer, in so many words, don't question, or they're not interpreting it or they're not decoding it. So it's just for face value. Whatever the face value is, that's what they're teaching. And so I just got to the point, I mean, I was like, you know what? Being here has served its purpose. Being born in a Christian, or they weren't like holy rollers or whatever. My parents were not holy rollers, but they felt that it was important to introduce us to Christianity. Okay. That was my experience. So that's why I'm using that as an example. But I just had to learn as a grown woman, growing spiritually, that I needed to take what was healthy for my mental, spiritual, and physical being, take that experience, leave the rest. Whatever helped me grow, I'm going to hold on to that. And everything else, not going to worry about it. Now, initially, I was upset about it. And even now, like talking about it, I feel a bit disappointed. But it pushed me in the direction that I was supposed to be in the first place. And sometimes when you get frustrated, uncomfortable, disappointed, or whatever, sometimes it actually pushes you in the direction that you should have been in the first place. So they did me a favor. They did me a favor. They taught me what I needed to know. It served its purpose. And now I'm being directed to higher consciousness. And And so, again, that's my foundation, Christian, okay? My foundation. And I'm going to build on that. I'm not going to throw it out with I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as some people say. I'm not doing that. I'm going to hold on to what resonates with me and chuck the rest. And everything that we experience in our lives served a purpose. Served a purpose. Now I'm sitting here thinking about my mother's people on her father's side, because I don't know much about my mom's mother's side. So my maternal grandmother, I don't know much about her and her people, because my mother was raised by her paternal grandparents. But what I've heard through her and also other relatives on that side of the family, her paternal grandparents did not go to church. Nope. They sent my mom and my aunt and all of them to church. But my great grandparents did not go to church. From the stories I'm hearing, it sounds a whole lot like they were comfortable acknowledging the highest divinity in nature. However, I do remember my mom saying that her grandmother, her paternal grandmother, was always fearful, always afraid. She wouldn't want to go in the house in broad daylight when everyone else was gone. She didn't want to be alone in the house. She was always afraid. And then I remember my mama would say that my great grandmother would pour salt all over the place. Salt. She would pour salt in the driveway. Salt. She did stuff that now looking back, and now that I've been learning different belief systems and spiritual paths or whatever, that sounds a whole lot like hoodoo. Not voodoo, but hoodoo. Also known as roots. Also known as magic. Also known as witchcraft. Because I mean, plenty of people, different spiritual paths or whatever, they use salt, you know. But from what I've heard, the salt, and she used to do some other stuff that now looking back, I'm like, okay. So on the surface stuff, she sent the kids to church, but she didn't go to church. But she always lived in a state of fear. Also, her mother, so my mom's paternal grandmother's mother. So that's my great grandmother. She lived to be, I think, in her early 100s. And then my mom said that she would always crawl in the bed with her and sleep next to her. And my great. So 3 greats. My mom's great. Wait a minute. Make sure I got this right. Her dad's mom's mother. So my grandfather's mother's mother. So my great granddaddy, great. Yeah, my great grandmother. I messed that up, right? She was known within the community as being a midwife. She helped deliver many colored children cheering niggas and everything else in the community. So when I said niggas, in the state of Virginia, they labeled everybody black if they weren't white after 1910. So in the 1920 census, everybody that was something else but white ended up being black. So anyway, this particular elder, she was a midwife, but she was known for something else other than a midwife. And apparently they called her a root doctor. And at first, when I first heard about that, I was like, what? No one in my life sucks, because they probably were doing crazy stuff back then and it attached to me, and now I'm cursed. That was my mentality when I first heard about it. But then after time and after learning more about different spiritual walks and learning more about the stories that I heard about her, she was a go-to person. When people needed herbs to heal a wound, or they were sick or something like that, that was the woman they went to in that community. And looking back after learning more about other belief systems, I was like, wow. And a distant relative on Facebook posted a picture of this grandmother. And in this picture, she had her hands in a certain symbol, like something like this, with her hand on an umbrella like this. And she was sitting like this, almost very regal. And I think she had a hat on or something. And let me see if I can find that picture. I know if I show you this picture on my cell phone this way live, it's not gonna look that good. But it was like the way she was sitting. And then back then they didn't smile in pictures because, they had to stay very, very still, and it would take forever for that picture to actually make an image on the film or whatever. So they had to stand very, very still, right? Let me see. But anyway, when I saw that picture, I was like, oh, that's one of my ancestors that I've heard about, that I was kind of uncomfortable hearing about her story. And now it's like, wow, I descend from this so-called, what did I call her? A root doctor? Did I call her a root doctor? I'm trying to remember what I called her. A root doctor. I think that's what I called her. But that was hush hush. That was on the DL. They didn't talk too much about that because some people think she's a witch and all of that. Not saying that she wasn't a witch, but when people think of witches, and I've been guilty of that too, you think of bad. You think of everything that you could think of that was negative. So, but like I said, at this point in my life, I'm on this journey of finding myself, my spiritual walk, finding my blueprint. So if this group of people that believe X, Y, and Z, I don't see nothing that I want to hold on to, but that one thing. Guess what? I'm going to receive that one thing that I agree with, that feels like it's, my way, and everything else I'm leaving behind. Ain't for me. Thanks, but no thanks. So yeah. So whenever I find this picture, then I will share it with you guys. And it's on Facebook. And I think I probably deleted it. Probably. On my phone. That's what I'm saying. I probably deleted it on my phone because I was trying to make room. Because like every time you turn around, my phone storage is low and I gotta make room. So that particular picture I may have deleted because it was a screenshot and I had like 2 or 3 of those screenshots. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to delete it because I already have a copy of it on Facebook. So that may have been what happened to this particular picture that I am thinking about, which is okay because next time I do a Facebook Live, I will show you her picture. But anyway, I was just describing how, regal, confident almost for that time period. Let's see. That lady was 100. I think she was 104 years old in probably the 50s. And in that picture, she looked like she might have been maybe 60 something, 70 something. So maybe that picture was taken in the 30s maybe, or 20s. But for that time period, for a person of color, and like I said, that energy that I felt when I saw that picture of her, she just looked like, don't come for me. Tread softly, don't come for me. Tread softly. Yeah. She looked like you didn't want to roll up on her. Very, very confident. So anyway, but again, that was a spiritual walk that she partook in, and it was hush hush. And I don't think that she went to church or did anything like that. That was, people knew under the radar that she was the one to go to when they needed help. If anything she needed, she would go out in the woods and come back with herbs. And see, my mom doesn't remember a lot of that stuff because, as kids, you don't really pay too much attention to your elders. And half the time the elders don't share too much with you. Maybe part of it is because they're trying to protect you from the hostility of the rest of society if they knew that you were dibbling and dabbling in anything other than Christianity, right? Or wherever you are in the world. But where I'm from, Christianity is okay. Everything else is not. So anyway, Mary Dog Rescue TV. You says, yes, I do the same thing. I don't call it meditate, but basically the same thing. Thank you. Yeah. I mentioned meditation because, you get quiet, you breathe very, very deeply a few times, and then you just wait for answers. I personally prefer guided meditations. And depending on what it is, if I want peace or whatever, I'll try to find a meditation on peace. And I listen to that and, the music and the person's voice and how I feel about it. Sometimes I want just healing and I'll find a meditation about healing. Other times it may be I want to clear my chakras. So yeah, it just depends. But for me right now in my life, the guided meditations helps me focus. Instead of just sitting there and don't hear anything. And so you don't supposed to think. You're supposed to just have a blank mind or whatever. But I prefer to focus on everything that's good, everything that's pleasant, everything that's lovely, right? That's what I choose to meditate on. But apparently, in some practices, you just clear your mind, don't think about nothing, and you just be present. And then the sound or whatever you need will come to you. Now, when I mentioned earlier about dreams, some of my messages that I will receive, if I'm receptive to it, because lately I'm like, look, I don't want to hear nothing. I just want to go to sleep and then give me my messages. I don't want to hear voices when I'm trying to go to sleep. But before all of that, when I would close my eyes to go to sleep, I would hear answers, or I would hear a name or a date or something like that. Something that I was pondering or thinking about earlier that day or maybe earlier that week. And then I would get, something coming through before I go to sleep. So I'll wake up thinking someone's talking to me, like a person in flesh and blood, and no one's talking to me in flesh and blood. So that used to happen quite a bit. And then I just turned that off. Literally, I was like, look, I don't want to hear nothing. I prefer messages to come through my dreams after I'm already asleep. So that's what happens now. I just prefer when I'm asleep, then I get my messages. But yeah, if you kind of consider that like meditating, like when you close your eyes to go to sleep, most of the time you're not really thinking about nothing, especially if you're really, really tired. You just like pass out. Yeah, but that's just me. Everyone has their own way, their own blueprint, their own path, their own preferences, As long as you're getting the results that you seek, it's your path. So KD, 3M, 3 chain, 1 sea fairy, Taino. Oh, I remember you. Peace, brother. Hope you're doing well. This video right here, this video is pretty much about, again, my spiritual path, where I am right now, my thoughts about certain things. And we were just talking about meditation and just now thinking back on some relatives that I never met, but was on my mom's side of the family, her father's side, so her paternal side of the family. Things that just didn't seem like it aligned up. Let's just put it away. And when she was telling me this years later, I'm like, oh. So they sent y'all to church as children, but the grown folks didn't go. They didn't feel the need to. Also, that particular church that they were going to, I've heard stories that the adult leaders in that church, or at least one of them, was having his way with the children. And many people don't want to talk about things like that. So, they either don't go to church because of that, because they feel like, well, that didn't work for me, so church is a joke because I was abused or whatever. Or they internalize it, don't say anything, because they feel like if they say something, then the leader or whoever did that would get in trouble and everybody would blame them. And so they kept their mouth shut. But when people experience negative things in a place that's supposed to be safe, they have a whole different perspective. That love that you're supposed to receive, it was distorted. It was manipulated. It was, just unfortunate. So fast forward now to my mother. She is definitely not a Christian anymore. And the way she put it out there, I felt was very offensive, because she put it on social media and she said some things that I was embarrassed about. I mean, I did understand where she was coming from. I do understand the frustration of, I mean, the problem is a lot of people, they go to church and they're looking for Jesus, I call him Yeshua, to be a genie in a bottle or whatever. And if they don't get what they was praying for, then it's like, what's the point? And that's where she was, I think she still is kind of like that. Like, okay, well, what's the point of going to church if you still struggling and I'm just done? And then the words that she was putting on Facebook, social media was so, people call it blasphemy today. Like, if she were to say that stuff back in ancient times, they would have stoned her to death, if you understand what I mean. Yeah, I actually told her to take some of that stuff down off of Facebook. I would say, you need to delete it now. Like, for real. You need to delete it now. I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, the way that you put it out there and how you put it out there and the words you chose to use. Oh my goodness. You know how some people say, you about to get struck by lightning. Let me step back, because you about to get struck by lightning. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And I was like, oh God. I just prayed for her. I was like, she's upset, she's frustrated, she's mad. You know, I just pray that there's some room for forgiveness, because she coming hard and many people feel the way she feels. But it was just like, you don't put that out there in social media. And then, like, people that she grew up with on social media that's very Christian, or at least play like they're Christian, they were upset, and it was just a hot freaking mess. I was like, Ma, people can believe what they want to believe. They still want to believe in Jesus and him being the savior and all that. That is their business. They have the right to. You don't have the right to tear down what they believe in, just like they don't have the right to tear down what you believe in. Now, apparently, we all know there are Christians out there that do tear down other people's belief systems. I mean, it is what it is. They shouldn't, but they do. So I think she got frustrated with some Christians or whatever on social media, and she went all out. I mean, the words she chose to use, I mean, it was so embarrassing for me. It was embarrassing for all my sisters, really. I was so embarrassed. I was like, you need to delete this right now. I was offended because of how she worded what she had to say. Like I said, if she were to say what she said on social media back in the day, during Jesus' time, she would have been stoned to death. And that's all I got to say about that. But yeah, my mother, she's not a Christian anymore. She has dibbled and dabbled in other religions. I kind of don't know what she's doing right now, but you know, she was trying to do the Buddhist thing, then she was trying to do the Muslim thing, and then, you know, I believe that she has most of her life have been seeking what's already been there all along. And she may have inherited through blood a walk that us Christians have been taught to disown. And I think she got so frustrated that she just lashed out. And now she is all about the universe. And I laugh because on Facebook, I'll post something that saying something about universal laws or something like that, law of attraction, things of that nature. And so the past few months, I've noticed she's been posting things about the universe and, all of that. And the point is she flip-flops a lot, but she's definitely not a Christian anymore. And it's kind of sad that she doesn't see the value in what she was taught and then just build on that. Like, she actually is also, I assume, I could be wrong, but I believe she's also on her way trying to grow spiritually as well. In her way, not my way, her way. I'm very cautious around my mother. But she can see, for the most part, what's in me and my sisters. But she comes at me correct. And when I say come correct, not that I have all this power over her, but some people you can get up under their skin and they allow you to. I don't allow her to do that to me. Like, I don't. Like, she can push my buttons and she can do things that I feel like as a mother, don't do that. Don't do that as a mother. But I admire the fact that she is bold enough to say, I don't give a F what you think. I'm going to do what I wants to do. Whatever, my life. She's bold. That woman is bold. She has gone through some things in life that I probably can't even imagine. She probably will never talk about. But what I do know and what has been revealed to me through her mouth, she had a difficult life. And now, as a 60-something-year-old woman, it's almost like she's been reborn, but more, I hate to say it, but more dangerous than before. I choose to distance myself from her. I communicate with her sporadically because I Facebook, I can kind of get away with that because she can still see my stuff. I can see her stuff. But as far as picking up the phone or going to see her, it's very, very sporadic. I do that because I want to respect her as much as I can because she did birth me, right? She did give me life, right? So I have to have some sort of respect for her because of that. But other than that, I don't allow her to push me in a way that I'll regret what I have to say. I mean, there's been plenty of times I had to cut off our conversation. I was like, all right, Ma, I love you. I got to go, bye. Because that was my way of not disrespecting her. How some people disrespect their parents. I do believe in that scripture, right? Honor your parents or your life will be cut short. I mean, I know I'm, saying in my own kind of way. That's not word for word. But at the same time, it's like at the end of the day, that woman gave me life. And I can at least acknowledge that and I can at least respect her for that. The moments that she is tolerable and I feel in my spirit it's okay to be around her, I will show up. But there's been times, it's been months where I haven't spoken to her. I have not seen her. Sometimes it's been years. because her spirit did not align up with me. And my spirit was like, you don't need to be there. Like literally, I had a dream that, no, it wasn't a dream. It was one of those about to fall asleep moments that I was telling you about. And I got a message and it said, cut the umbilical cord. So with me and the way I rationalize, that was cut it off. Whatever relationship you have with your mother is no longer the same relationship that it used to be. Cut it. Cut that umbilical cord. Out of peace, keeping the peace as much as possible, I needed to separate from her. And it's been like that ever since. It really has. But that was my way of protecting myself, was to disconnect like that and just love her from a distance. And that's what I've been doing. But again, I do admire the fact that she say what she want, when she want, however she want, don't care what people think. I can at least, admire that about my mother. But I mean, there's been some things that went down this past year alone. Well, not this year, last year. That I'm like, oh. Like she literally sent someone in June or July a card in the mail. And whatever else she put in the card, I don't know. And it was a Halloween card with black cat on it. And that was her way of letting that person know that she's not the one to mess with. I was like, oh my God, really? Really? You sending out Halloween cards in July to people you don't like, or people you feel like did you wrong? Yeah, I'm gonna save y'all the details of all of that. But she didn't speak to me since December last year. And then I sent her a message right before Mother's Day to wish her a happy Mother's Day. Because again, she gave me life. And I want to at least respect the fact that she gave me life. Then all of a sudden, she all on Facebook saying wonderful things about me and my sisters and everything. After the fact that we knew some things that she did that was trifling or whatever. I ain't gonna put too much out there, but we played along with it because she was in a good mood, and we figured, okay, well, it's Mother's Day, we can at least be cordial and nice, whatever like that. And ever since then, she's been calling me, acting all worried about our safety when we went to New Orleans. No. Now you concerned? Now you're concerned because your daughters are now going to go down to New Orleans with the real deal Holyfield stuff down there, if you know what I mean. Oh, now all of a sudden you want to be nice. Now all of a sudden you worried about us. Really? That's right. We were in New Orleans, and I will be back. I will go back for real. New Orleans, as of right now, is my second home. So I will be back. Best believe that. But anyway, I just played along with it. And I was like, yeah, you would love coming down here, Mom. Yeah, you and your husband should come down here. You would love it. I'm sure she knows a lot about New Orleans. And all three of her daughters, all three of her children, because she only had 3 kids, all 3 children went down to New Orleans. Now, all of a sudden, she perks up, right? Don't play. Let's see. Love Legacy 500 says, I hope you both can continue to have peace between one another. Yes. Yes. Thank you. I definitely am on the same page as you with that. I'm on the same page with you because I love my mother, but what this individual, the past 10 years, past decade has evolved into, mm, I mean, it's a lot, guys. It's a lot. I'm not revealing everything because I respect privacy. And so I'm not going to reveal everything. Let's just say her sister, my aunt, were close for years. They were pretty much was raised together. They have the same parents, no half siblings or whatever like that. They both have the same parents. Now they do have half siblings from the mom's side and the dad's side. But my aunt, Risa, and my mother they have the same parents. And they grew up together. So their paternal grandmother raised them both together. They were peanut butter and jelly. They were very close. And the last 5 years of my aunt's life, because she passed away, and I mentioned her before in another video, she passed away on January the 1st at 11 p.m. 2017. She died of complications from cancer. Okay. Her own sister, my mother, did not want to make amends at all. And she gave me a 30-minute spiel on Christmas Day why she was not going to call her sister and make up or whatever. That's how deep-rooted bitterness that my mother had for my aunt. By the way, my aunt Risa visits me in my dreams. So she good. At least once a month she shows up. Because that woman was like my mother. And that probably was some jealousy going on there too. Because she kind of like somewhat raised me as well. But when that happened and my aunt eventually died, I was like, wow. I did not expect my Aunt Risa to die that soon. I wonder why. And Mama's still chucking. Mama's still doing whatever she doing. But my Aunt Risa died quickly. She got diagnosed 2012, I think. She didn't get the treatments that she needed, and she was under a lot of stress. And a laundry list of other things that I wish she would have learned not to rely on. But she relied on things anyway. And I think that just sped up the process of her eventually dying, in my opinion, too soon. And her own sister, my mother, when I called my mom, I said, "Ma, Risa, eventually soon, whatever, it's going to cross over." And I told her, she's like barely 100 pounds because she was frail. Like this woman, my Aunt Risa was like a big mama. Okay. You can imagine a big mama, right? Thick, big woman. Then over the years, she lost weight with the help of weight loss surgery. And then towards the end of her life, she lost weight because she had all kinds of stuff going on and couldn't keep food down and stuff like that. So from a big mama to I could feel the ribs in her back. Like she literally was like a skeleton with skin on her bones, and that was it. And I said, Ma, Risa, any day now. She told me to ask you to call her. She want to talk to you, whatever. Mom said, nope, I ain't calling. It is what it is. And I was like, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like deep-rooted bitterness. At the end of the day, whatever you were mad about doesn't matter. It doesn't. whatever you mad about that you believe happened 30 plus years ago, and you discovered it 2-3 years before she died, at this point, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And so you are willing to not make amends with your sister that used to be your best friend. Y'all grew up together. So my aunt ended up dying without no kind of closure with that particular situation. So that's the kind of situation that I'm talking about, where I love my mother from a distance. And I just, whatever spiritual path she's on, I do hope that she adjusts where she's not being destructive and she's being, how should I put this? Whatever she's partaking in, that is to help people. Help people, not sit back and plot to be destructive. And like I said, I love my mother, but she has her issues and she's not a Christian anymore. She probably never was, to be honest with you. Because I remember when I was coming up, we would go to all these gospel programs and church related stuff. And honestly, I don't think she was there for the word. Let's just put it that way. I think she was there for the social gathering of it, knowing people that went to the church. So it was more of a social thing. And I think a lot of people do that too when they attend churches. They're doing it for a social thing, you know, almost like a club. But yeah, she's no longer Christian. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm not a Christian, but I do believe in Christ consciousness. I do believe Yeshua, also known as, a lot of people call him Jesus. I do believe that he is a master, that he is an individual that was a great teacher. And I'm thankful that I learned, at least what they told us in the Bible, I'm thankful that I learned about his walk, because he had his walk. He went through his wilderness, right? Now we have to go through our walk. We have to do our work. We have to go through our wilderness. And so when it comes to the Christ consciousness, that's where I am right now. I believe all of us have the higher divinity within us. We are part of the highest divinity, the ultimate power. I do believe that too. I'm not necessarily going to put a name on it. I think that's when it starts to get, you know, kind of gets slippery when you put a name on it. And I think that's why a lot of people that get either blinded or sidetracked or whatever when it comes to putting a name on whatever belief system that they are involved in or they resonate with. I'm not putting a name on it. Again, I am into crystals. I'm into herbs. I'm into essential oils. I'm into law of attraction. I'm into Christ consciousness. I'm into high vibrations. Whatever belief system that promotes love, peace, joy, all of that, I'm into that. I'm also into recognizing that balance, right? You have good, 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 good over here. And then you have, if you know what I mean. I think I'm right in here. I'm in this balance area, right? I mentioned this before a few weeks ago, that sometimes people are pushed and they have to unleash that shadow side. The side that most people don't want to go there. Sometimes you gotta give them a preview. And so I believe there are times where you have to unlock that side of you, which is the shadow side. Not necessarily to destroy a whole, zip code or whatever, but sometimes you have bullies, and I call them spiritual bullies, that test you. And if they test you long enough, you're going to have to open up a can. And so I personally want to stay on the light, high vibrational peace side, but also recognize the importance of being able, when the time comes, to protect yourself with the shadow side of yourself. And some people use shadow side of themselves all the time, and they do destructive things, and that's their path. That ain't mine. But if they're coming from me, and the peace, joy, happiness, and high vibration or whatever is like this, I'm going to need to open up that other side to balance it out, so they know to step off. Don't come for me. And so I think that side that I'm not necessarily excited about is only unleashed when it's absolutely necessary. And one thing that I can think of at this moment is, remember in the movie A Time to Kill? And I'm trying to think of the actor that's in there. Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson. He played the father of the young girl who was violated. And that was pretty much the point of the movie. There's a time to kill. And there is a scripture about that. There's a time for everything. There's a time to laugh. There's a time to cry. There's a time to dance. There's a time to, whatever. There's a time for everything. And when I refer back to those verses in that particular book, Ecclesiastes, I can't think of the actual chapter, but it spells out there's a time to do all of this stuff. And some things are nice and joyful and hearing angels and birds or whatever. And then there's the other side that's not as happy. It's not as joyful and is pretty destructive. So there's a time for everything. That's pretty much what I'm saying. There's a time for everything. And that time when, the dark shadow or whatever shadow side comes out, it has to. It just has to. And when I was thinking about that movie, A Time to Kill, that father was a decent man. And he dealt with racism and all that. I forgot what era that this movie came out in. Not necessarily when the movie came out, but the era of that time for that particular story. But I'm sure his character dealt with racism in the Deep South and all that. And he probably was on this side trying to do the right thing, trying not to bring trouble to his family, whatever, dealing with it, dealing with the ignorance and the racism and the bullying, right? When his daughter was violated, that's when you witness his dark side. You can turn that cheek all you want, but there is a time for that dark side or that shadow side to come out. In my opinion, the shadow side is that shadow side is when you need protection or you need to set some things straight. So that's how I look at it. That's where I am. So that is opened when it's absolutely necessary. I remember when I was watching The Craft, and it's silly to me to even acknowledge it, but that movie, for whatever reason, I think it came out in the 90s. That movie I was drawn to when I wasn't supposed to be drawn to, right? But I was drawn to that movie. And anyway, there was a part in the movie where you had the good witch at that shop. I guess it was a metaphysical shop or crystal shop or whatever it was that the young high school witches went to, or trying to be witches. But you know, if you saw in the movie, there was only one natural witch in that group. But anyway, so when everything went crazy, the natural witch teenage girl ran into the shop where she met, I guess, the owner of the shop, who tried to warn her in so many words, like, you know, be careful what you do, or you're trying to evoke such and such. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Anyway, so the natural witch ran to this woman because she was like, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Da, da, da. So this, I would say, good witch pulled her to the side, and she was like, it's okay, come with me. There was an area in that shop that initially at the beginning of the movie, the shop owner told the girls they couldn't go back there. It was like it was blocked off. There was a curtain there. It was like, no, you can't go in there. Well, when that girl came back and she was frightened and scared and needed help, that's when that good witch took her back there, and she unveiled what was back there. And whatever was back there, she was about to evoke or whatever, which I'm assuming that was the shadow side of her persona to get things done. But that was only absolutely necessary when she went back there. Any other time she was in the front, you know, being peaceful, whatever. But when everything fell apart and everything went down, that girl was desperate. That's when the good witch, the more mature witch, the more experienced witch, took her by the hand and took her in the back. And that's when she was trying to help out. But anyway, I say all of this because, and not just witches, because I know nothing about witches and their walk or whatever. I'm just thinking of examples to kind of explain where I'm coming from. I say all of this because there's a time for everything. But at the same time, for my personal walk, I'm going to do everything in my power to not activate the shadow side. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to do everything in my power. I'm going to try to understand where the person's coming from, or why they think this way, or why did that person say, or why did this person do this, or how were they raised? And I would do everything in my power to give them the benefit of the doubt, to try to forgive and all that. Because that's, you know, what we're supposed to do, forgive. So we can be forgiven. But the shadow side will come out, at least for a preview, at least for a smidget of a second, when that time comes where, you know, I have to step up and let folks know about themselves. But any other time, like, no, I don't want to go there. It ain't worth the energy, because it takes a lot of energy to get to that level. My energy, I rather focus high vibrational energy, joy, peace, love, understanding, you know. But again, I'm here. I'm here. This is where I am. I'm here. Right? But again, you have that A Time to Kill movie with Samuel L. Jackson. He was trying to take the high road, dealing with bigots, and they violated his daughter. His character shadow side came out. It is what it is. It is what it is. And you know what? They had it coming. They had it coming. They had it coming. So anyway, I promote love, peace, joy, happiness, blessings. That's what I'm all about. That's what I focus on. And thanks for watching, everyone. I'm going to end this Facebook Live. I mean, not Facebook Live. I'm sorry. YouTube Live video. Thanks, Love Legacy 500, for commenting, as well as Mary's Dog Rescue TV and Taino. Thank you so much for those who were watching. Thank you for those who liked my video. I know this went on forever, but I just wanted to share where I am right now. Currently, right now, on my spiritual walk. And I will continue to share more of what I learned, where I am with that at a later time. So anyway, be blessed, stay blessed, be a blessing to others. Take care. Bye-bye. Good night.